Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to take a team-oriented approach and look at essentially Kansas from the benefit of who they're bringing in this transfer class. Kansas is currently the odds-on favorite, I believe tied with UConn and tied with Duke maybe for most likely to win a national championship. And a big reason why is because, well, first off, they got Bill Self. They're well coached. But then they brought in a great recruiting class with the likes of Zeke Mayo, Noah Shelby, Rylan Griffin, David Coy Jr., and AJ Storr. We're going to look at them over the next couple of days, as in today and tomorrow. We're going to look at two of them and see how they're going to benefit Kansas or maybe not benefit Kansas and why or why not that is. So the first thing we need to establish is Kansas, their big issue was on offense last year. They were great in transition. They were great on defense. However, they don't really have that many shooters on the floor. Okay, Harris can shoot, but he doesn't really. Dickinson can shoot, but he doesn't really, and he stays near the post. KJ Adams can't shoot, doesn't shoot. Timberlake, I don't know, can't really shoot. It was theoretical that he could shoot, but he can't really shoot. Furphy was their only real shooter on the floor, and BYU kind of like not exposed this, but really emphasized this to the degree is when this drive happens, look at this. Like you have three bodies in the paint, all not guarding their man, is you cannot function as an offense like this because the spacing is so poor. That means you can't go to the post, you can't go to Dickinson, you can't drive, KJ Adams, specialty. Like it really limits what you're doing on offense because you're unable to have spacing like this. And I think this was the biggest issue for Kansas. And if they can rectify this while maintaining their other qualities, I think they have a real chance to be the best team in the nation. So we're going to discuss whether AJ Storr fits this mold or does not and why. Let's go. All right, so the first overarching issue that obviously is going to have to be addressed is can he space the floor for KJ Adams and Hunter Dickinson to allow Dewan Harris to be able to drive downhill? AJ Storr is this number 2 right here. So the first thing is AJ shot like 35% on his career, something like that. So he shoots the ball decently well. We'll look at some of the shots specifically in this game, but one of the big parts about shooting is not just shooting, but understanding your spacing. So the first thing I don't like about this is where should he be right now? He should probably be in this corner. He's not a central key in the action. This isn't inflow or whatever. So provide more spacing for 22. Make it so 5 can't help over, something like that. And get over here in the corner. Just make it so your defender's a little more spacing. So that's the first thing I'm not a huge fan of. Again, we see as this ball is happening right here, I don't know if there's miscommunication or something, but AJ keeps creeping up this way. Even though he's not directly involved in it, he is not in the corner. Like this would drive me crazy when I was coaching is get your butt in the corner so that way you space out the freaking floor. The farther you come up, essentially the less room that the defenders have to guard, and it's easier for them. Instead of being here, they have to be all the way over here, and that makes it so when this drive happens, there's no space. This dude has to take a half step over, and he can guard both the ball and AJ, and that's I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't think that provides adequate spacing on offense. So then, as far as shooting, the other thing to consider is what types of shots was Kansas getting? They weren't getting just like where you were taking a step back or you were off the dribble pulling up a three. It was kick out threes. It was essentially in the flow of the offense, create an open shot because you have great drivers like Harris and Adams and allow that to create open shots. It wasn't shots like this, okay, where it was 3 dribbles and then a pull up. Okay? This doesn't create spacing the same way that a kick out 3 does because you don't have to respect that because he already has the ball. You're going to be guarding him because he already has the ball. So AJ didn't shoot the ball particularly well in this game. That being said, he obviously has shot it pretty well on average throughout his career. So he's better than those 2 misses. But that being said, again, I want to highlight this is not in the flow of the offense. This is just AJ 1 dribble pull up. Probably not the shot he's going to take at Kansas. All right, so then let's look at his passing. Let's see if he allows open opportunities to essentially become more opportunities. So here 11 is open. AJ does find him. That's a good pass. And here we're in transition. We get a little ball screen set and a nice pocket pass between the 2 hands right there to an easy layup as well. That was a nice pass as well. So before we go to our final category, just generally on defense, like you didn't see a whole lot of action. Like he was like this was not bad defense. He fought over the screen and got a hand up, but you didn't see a whole lot of help from him. You didn't see a whole lot of, I don't know. He wasn't on their best player either. And so I think he's going to be average on defense. He's long and athletic. I don't think he's going to be KJ Adams, but I don't think he'll be bad on defense by any stretch. Okay, so far we have spacing. Some I have a question mark. Not a huge fan of currently. Shooting, same thing. Curious how that evolves to be Kansas. Passing seems to be decent. Defense, again, probably going to be a net neutral. So then the thing that comes down to is driving. So on offense, I think a lot of the big reason why he has so much hype is because people see him as this long, athletic offensive player. And so we're going to look at him and his drives and see whether they were effective or not super effective against James Madison. Okay, so we got a little bit of movement right here to allow him to create just a slight edge. Again, we can see Wisconsin not really spaced out, and so it's easier for the defenders to help. Maybe this is a coaching thing, not an AJ thing. I don't know. Okay, so there's a drive in, and so there's a lot of hands in the way right here, and so he kind of just forces it right here. And this is that's 2 hands in the face and another 2 hands coming. Like that's a tough shot. The fact that he made it is good, but is that a good shot to be shooting? Probably not. All right, this time in transition, a good pass ahead, and AJ is trying to attack in the middle, and he drives into, again, a lot of traffic. And this is difficult because 22 kind of, I don't know, tries to set a ball screen right there. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but drives into a lot of traffic. You can see 3 purple bodies around him and turns the ball over because of it. Okay, ball's going to get swung around. Let's see how he gets downhill. So a good little separation right there and a good 1-2. He did get fouled. I like this take by and large. Like this is a pretty narrow window, and he's still strong with the ball, and he does get to the rim. And I think this is pretty effective. I'm gonna be honest. So we can see the spacing is much better right now. But when AJ gets this ball, I love the little jab and go. I love that. And he gets downhill, is physical with it, and that's a really good finish. I think they called the foul on the floor maybe, but that's a really good finish. And so if you give him space, I do think AJ is going to have a lot of benefit. However, the biggest issue is I don't think Kansas needs someone that can drive. They have Harris, they have Adams, they have really athletic drivers already. And I think their biggest issue is they need someone to be able to space the floor. And so AJ making decisions like this, I think doesn't increase spacing, but shows essentially that his first instinct is going to be to drive. And I don't know if that complements Jayhawks very well, especially making decisions like that, like because that's a bad turnover. As good as those other ones were, that's a pretty bad turnover. And then the very next possession, he compounds it by doing essentially the exact same thing. And like, yeah, there's a little bit of space to work with, but because James Madison is essentially playing pack line where they're able to help aggressively, again, you get to the paint and you see massive amounts of bodies, and again, it's another turnover. So in general, going list by list, I think spacing, I don't know. I really don't think he'll be able to space out Kansas that much because of his styles, the threes he shoots versus the threes he doesn't shoot. Defense, I think he'll be a net neutral. Passing, I think he'll be a net neutral, probably slight positive. And then his driving, I think, is the biggest upside for him potentially, but I don't think it's what Kansas needs is the issue. So in final conclusion, I don't think AJ Storr will be that big of a benefit for Kansas. He might get playing time. They probably will get playing time because he's a big draft pick, big name, athletic guy. But I don't think he'll be that big of a benefit compared to some of the other transfers that Kansas is getting this year. If you want to see more of a full breakdown on what I thought were the issues with Kansas this year, feel free to check out this video right here. If you enjoy, feel free to like and subscribe. And most importantly, have a blessed rest of your day.